Hello, this is Raimu, and this is a recap for my game Omnia Regna and my stream Raimu8354 for the month of April 2020. As you can see above my head, there's a lot of things that happened during April. So I'm going to give a week-by-week rundown that's pre-recorded for the most part, and going to talk about various things that we did. So just as an overall thing, I think the theme for April was progression and questing. So we put in a lot of mechanisms for players to see what their abilities are and what their experience points accumulation is, and what quests they have, what rewards they're going to get for doing those quests. So you can see, for example, here, this is the prototype quest I made while testing the game Clean the Sewers. So the first time you complete the quest, you get a weapon. The second time and subsequent, you just get money. And there's also experience points that you get. There's a progress indicator of how far you are in the quest. This whole thing is under a new panel, and there's a corresponding panel for the admin to edit quests. So there are trainers in the game to allow you to increase your level. You get skill points in the game after gaining levels, which you can distribute to your character's attributes. And so that took up pretty much the first 3 weeks of the month. I did a bunch of refactoring after that. Then I took a little bit of time off to work on some side projects. So a project to revive an old Minesweeper clone that I had made. To improve the lighting for my setup, I worked on a custom LED strip lighting setup. And then the last week of the month, worked on some necessary changes to the game's Twitch integration stuff involving OAuth tokens. And also improving how credentials are managed in general. And then starting to introduce more integrations like the Twitch pub sub stuff. So let's go into the week by week. And thank you again for watching. I hope this helps you keep up or catch up to the stream status. Hey there, for the first week of April, I worked on character experience point mechanisms. So gaining experience points from quests, from combat, and later we'll have other opportunities to get experience, maybe discovering new areas or completing different requirements that NPCs give you. You can see it's showing up here. I now have 2,120 experience points, which I totally didn't cheat and add to my character directly. We also added trainer NPCs in the game so that you can increase your character's levels given enough experience points. So here I'm talking to the NPC trainer. His name is Chris. He trains adventurers like yourself. I can say train. It'll say, I can teach you to improve your skills. Proceed, yes. And you'll see my level went from 2 to 3. My experience dropped because we turned that in to increase our level. Now I have 3 skill points to distribute. I'm going to make my character a little bit stronger, maybe a little bit more dexterous, and apply those changes. So I worked on that last week. Also, I worked on removing the legacy tile set, so this won't really show up as a visible appearance to players in the game, since you can still pick from all of these different tiles. They happen to be the same tiles that we were using for the legacy avatar tile set, but now they actually have a tile set identifier in the game, and I can add more tiles as we go rather than being locked to just these pictures. So a little bit under the hood, but basically removing hard-coded stuff and replacing it with things that we can change more dynamically as we progress the game. That was it for the first week of April. For the second week of April, I added quest logs, quest editors, and migrated quest data to be their own game entities. So here we see for normal players, the quest log is now a tab that whenever you have a quest, it shows you a description of what the quest entails you to do, tells you what the rewards will be if you complete it, tells you if you're ready to turn it in, and you can also use it to abandon the quest. So when you aren't on any quests, it says that. Let me pick the quest back up again. I can type this correctly. There we go. And then when you complete the quest, it also vanishes, but you get the quest reward. Nice. So on the editor side, it looks like this. So I can enter any of the details that I want, including what the initial reward for completing the quest is, and if you redo the quest, what the reward is. I also put together some editors windows in here. And let me move this out of the way for a second. You can see here, I'm editing not an item, but an island template. And I was able to reuse a bit of the item panel here. So this form fragment is the same as when we're looking at an item in the game. For example, the sword that my character has. It's the same form fragment here is what is appearing here. Also reuse the tile editor for the game. So the same thing that I can use to edit tiles for items, for example this, is exactly the same modal that we use for editing the tile for item templates. So a bunch of reuse, a bunch of refactoring in the front end to do this. And it's all working. And that took pretty much the whole week. In the third week of April, we added the ability for players to open and close doors and also finish off the quest system. So in the game now, if you hit the U key, and you can actually hit a direction key or use the target reticle in the game, where if you target a door, it closes it, or you can open it again. We also have doors that are locked, so that door cannot be opened, as well as doors that cannot be closed. So the quest system is now fully operational, so if I go talk to this quest giver and turn in the quest that I have here, it automatically clears it from the current quest list, and if I pick up the quest again, then it reappears here, and it shows us our progress and our rewards. It can be changed if the GM goes and changes the quest while someone's on the quest. It actually updates the quest correctly. So, also did a bunch of things behind the scenes with refactoring. There were quite a few test fixtures that needed to be broken up and separated, and also the front end of the game went through a bit of an overhaul in a lot of the React components. So those changes didn't really appear when you're playing the game, but they're more apparent to me when I am maintaining the code and adding features. So the goal is to keep the code clean enough that I can add features and fix bugs without getting really lost or having bugs come up just because the code is too hard to maintain. Anyway, that's about it for the third week of April. And for the fourth week of April, I worked on a variety of things in and outside of the game. So going from the bottom up, client handoff. This refers to having servers move clients from one server to another without any visible change on the client side. So before, when I would take a server offline for maintenance to update its software, any clients connected to it would be disconnected, and that would show up as an abrupt reconnect to the game. Now there's a soft handoff system in place, and it shows up in the admin console here for this column marked C. This is the number of clients connected. You can see this player in the background, Raimu, is connected onto server 12. Now if I hit this button, private, it takes 12 out of the public pool and hands off all clients to other servers. And you could see there, while I did that, there was no visible change in the player's perspective. The player can still move around in the game. And now this allows me to take server 12 completely offline and update its code, which I'm going to do right there. Let's pretend I updated its code, bring it back into the cluster, and there'll be no perceived difference or change to any of the players in the game. So there's still some bugs in this. For example, if I were to have a client connected to the leader of the server and I go private, it actually disconnects the client, and I realized that right while I was filming this. So I'll have to go back and fix that. But the idea is that we can move clients around seamlessly between servers without them noticing. And that was pretty much all the work I did on the game for the fourth week of April. A couple other things that I worked on sort of as side projects. The LED strip lighting. You might see that the light on my face is a little bit different in color. That's because I have LED strip lighting. I worked on setting up the strips in a prototyping fashion during that week, and later on in the subsequent week I got the actual final product hardware set up. So this is how I control it right now through a web page that's served by a Raspberry Pi server. And I can control the color of the lights and whether or not they're on through some of these query parameters. So this is the color that I'm projecting now. If I were to change this to FF0000, now it's pure red, and we can go green if we want. 00FF00, now it's greenish. So the idea is that this gives my channel more regular, consistent lighting, and in the future probably allow viewers to interact with the lights with channel points or other redemptions. So I can turn it off the same way, turn it back on. That took about a week in total, so a couple of days prototyping during April 4th week, and then doing more work on the 5th week. And the last project I worked on during the 4th week of April was updating an old clone to Minesweeper that I made years ago to work on the web. It's called Rhyminds at rhyminds.now.sh, and in addition to the ordinary Minesweeper levels, there are larger expanded levels that feature special abilities in the game. So, for example, I can probe a certain area of the grid and see if there are mines there or not without losing the game. Also, I have an armor level, so if I step onto a mine, then the game isn't over yet until I step on another one. And oops, that was a mistake, and now the game is over. So that was a little bit of a side project. I wanted to do that, in particular for my dad, who enjoyed playing the original Minesweeper clone that I made, and basically had been almost lost to time since the original was for MS-DOS, and I wanted to preserve it. So now it's online. It's a React Redux phaser app, similar to my games front end, and that's pretty much it for the 4th week of April. And in the last week of April, I worked on some issues with Twitch integration with the game. So on April 30, Twitch changed the requirements for their new API called Helix, so that all API calls now require an OAuth token, and my game hadn't been using OAuth tokens for Twitch APIs. So I went in and added that. While in there, I decided that I was wrong in putting OAuth tokens in the game's configuration, because among other things, I can't actually show the configuration while I'm streaming without leaking OAuth tokens. So I decided to redesign how the server manages credentials such as OAuth tokens. So now, separately from the main game configuration, each server now makes a copy of special credentials in a separate file. And there's an in-memory API to get and set them as well. So that throughout the game code, whenever we need a credential, we can just make a function call to get it, and if we were to store it, it just automatically goes into a file, which is really convenient. And I make sure I never ever show that file while I'm streaming. So one of the first things I did with that server credential file is to move the OAuth token in there. I also had to add the app client secret for my game in there, because we started using the OAuth authorization code flow to get OAuth tokens. So it's a more complicated procedure where the account that I use to run my game's bot would request an OAuth token from Twitch using this authorization code flow. Instead of getting a token back directly, it gets a code, which it then sends to my game, and my game uses that code along with the app client secret to talk to Twitch to get the OAuth token. So demonstrating that here, I'm going to tell the game to get a code, and it briefly flashed the redirect API from Twitch showing the code and the scopes and everything that we requested. And now the game has redeemed the code for a token. It does that almost immediately. And in addition to getting the code from the client and then turning it into a token so that the client never actually needs to see the token, we also get a refresh token. So the server now can automatically keep its OAuth token refreshed, and we can also revoke the token if we ever leak it by accident or we don't need it anymore. So I've updated the front end of the game to include those flows, and also to revoke the token and to show when the token's going to expire. Now, while I was putting the new server credential management in place, I also added a screen here where I can manually set credentials if I need to. So this is how I imported the app client secret in the first place. The value isn't shown. It's sort of like a password, so I don't actually accidentally leak anything by pasting or typing in there while I'm streaming. And I'm going to be using this in the future for any kind of secret information the server needs to have that I don't want showing to players. So that pretty much wraps it up for April. I did work a little bit on Twitch pub sub, so that's not in the game completely yet, but I have the core logic in place. And PubSub is a facility that Twitch provides for getting event notifications for things like bits and channel point awards and subs and that kind of thing. So I want the game to be getting those, because eventually I want to replace my stream overlay with something that I make myself, which the game will provide data for, and also for doing any kind of in-game events in response to receiving bits or someone redeeming channel points. You know, things that happen in my stream could now be reflected in game too, to give a better, closer interaction between the stream and the game. So that was it for the last week of April. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Again, I stream this development of my game and other things live on Twitch 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, 9:15 a.m. my time, or 16:15 UTC. And it's been about a year since I started pushing this game online and working on bits and pieces. It takes a long time to do this kind of large-scale project. And I hope this video and the other videos I put out help to keep you up to date with what I'm doing. And hope to see you again next month or live on twitch.tv/Raimu8354. Thank you for watching. Bye.